When we are out of whack, we're out of balance, we're out of alignment with our foods and what your body needs, your hormones respond to that eventually. At first, you may see a reduction on the scale, but most of the time it is not fat, it's muscle. And a lot of times it's not sustainable. And then eventually, over a few weeks or months, it begins to shift our hormones out of balance. Are you doing all the things? Eating trim healthy, working out, praying for a breakthrough, but the belly fat still won't budge? Do you feel like your hormones are working against you and you're stuck in a body that doesn't feel like yourself anymore? Friend, I see you and you are not alone. I'm Chris, trim healthy coach, personal trainer, midlife mama, and lover of Jesus. I believe your body is good, your health matters to God, and you don't have to hustle harder to feel whole. Inside this podcast, I'll help you lose weight with grace, steward your body through perimenopause and menopause, and rebuild energy and confidence with practical trim healthy strategies that honor your hormones and your faith. All right, real quick before we jump in, my friends, if your jeans aren't fitting like they used to, you're exhausted for no reason, or what worked in your 30s isn't working anymore, you are not alone and you're definitely not broken. You just need a strategy that fits your season. That's exactly what I teach inside the Midlife Fat Loss Formula, my 6-month group coaching program built for real midlife women. Come take a look at bit.ly/join fat loss formula. That's bit.ly/join fat loss formula. All right, now let's get into today's topic. Hey friend, and welcome back to Menopause Makeover, aka the Honeycast, the place where we ditch the diet drama, learn how to love our midlife and beyond bodies, and finally get clear on what actually works for weight loss and for hormone harmony. Today, I want to talk about why we need to start now in perimenopause and why this will be one of the best decisions you can make for your health, your hormones, and your future self. The other day, I was on a phone call, on a discovery call with a woman who is in her late 30s. And she was saying, surely I can't be in perimenopause. I'm 37. But she listed all these things that are going on with her. And I said, yes, my friend, it sounds like you are. Of course, I am not a doctor, but I know enough about these symptoms. And did you know that perimenopause, or really pre-perimenopause, starts in your late 30s and you start to transition. And as you get older each year, you're getting closer to that more transition time, but some of you will start earlier. And a lot of that has to do with hereditary, your past history, hormonal history, and even some environmental things. So I was able to assure her, okay, you're not crazy. This is hormones and let's go, girl. Let's not wait until you're 50 or however old, later on to start working on this. So basically, here's the script here. Jeans feeling tighter, even though she's not doing anything differently. Crashing hard by the mid-afternoon. The fatigue and exhaustion hits. Sometimes that's thyroid related. And that's one of the questions that I ask people. Have you gotten your thyroid optimized? You're waking up at 3 a.m. and start staring at the ceiling for hours, or maybe your mind is super duper busy. And that old thing that you used to do that you could just drop several pounds like that. And that's what she said. She's like, I could just stop eating for a couple days and I could drop 10 pounds in a week. Like, wow, that's a lot. But here's what I want to say. It's not because you are lazy, and maybe we do have some areas of our life that we are. What I want to do is I just want to take it off of you so that you're not blaming yourself. That's the big thing, is like we start questioning and blaming. And then whenever you bring blame to yourself or anybody else, honestly, you bring in this level of judgment. And then here comes the regret, and here comes the shame, and here comes the place where you just don't feel good and you're down on yourself. How in the world can you do anything different if we're in that space. So I want you to take the judgment away. Judgment in this scenario is not helpful. And I want you to put on your eyes and your ears of compassion and mostly curiosity. I want you to get curious and be open. So here's the thing. Most of us were taught nothing about what's going to happen in our, late 30s, 40s, and 50s. I was not educated. I did not start reading books about it like I did when I was pregnant and, becoming a mom. I just ran into it headlong. And you know my story pretty much. I ended up in the middle of depression and wacky hormones that had me up in the middle of the night with insomnia. I'd get up at 3 a.m. and stay up till 4 or 5 and go back to sleep and not want to get up. Low level anxiety throughout the day. My body started hurting. My exercise I did not feel good after exercise. I actually had some adrenal fatigue going on. I also started to gain weight and actually gain fat instead of, I could just tell the fat was coming on. And I really thought, I do not feel like myself. So fast forward, ended up going to the doctor. They're like, pill or get on an antidepressant. No, thank you. I had to go figure it out. And I have been studying this for years, and it's taken me years to somewhat climb out of that pit. And I don't want you to go to the pit. That's why I'm here. I don't want you to go to the pit. If you do go to the pit and you feel like you're in a pit, do not despair. You can get out of it. You can. But I'm talking to the person before they get there. And here's the main reason. When we age, things get harder. When we age and our metabolism slows down, all of that gets very slow moving, and it's harder to support your body and have your body bounce back and have some resilience and health in a timely manner. It feels like it does take longer. And I don't think anybody is ever too gone. I really don't. But I'd say if you start working on this sooner rather than later, then you are going to thank yourself later. And that is the advice that I would give myself. Looking back, now my last pregnancy was at 44, and really I was still in that mode. But after that, that's really would have been a good time for me to start realizing and reading and finding practitioners that know what they're doing with hormones, integrative practitioners, but I didn't. And so I waited until I was about 48. So I waited and I waited and I waited until I had a few meltdowns. And that's when I started doing things. And I will have to say my body did not respond quickly at first. As a matter of fact, I started working with a practitioner and they did put me on some progesterone and not testosterone at that time, nor estrogen. I was still cycling and we could not get that dosage right. So if you are considering HRT, please know it is a process and it takes time and communication, and every woman's body is different. At that time, I started learning the nutrients that I really needed to add to support my body. And that would be magnesium, that would be B vitamins, that would be getting my vitamin D levels checked. Most women have very low vitamin D levels, and that does mess with your hormones and inflammation and your brain. And you definitely want to get that tested. But most of us have very low vitamin D, even if we have a lot of sunshine. I also started to look at exercise differently and started shifting all of that. But that's a little bit later. Those are a little bit more practical things. But what I want to say is perimenopause is not a problem. It is an invitation. I really like to reframe it like that, because if you think there is a problem, your brain is going to focus and it's going to stress and it's going to try to solve a problem. Now, I want you solving for perimenopause, but not as a math problem. We want to solve for, how can I support my body best? So it's an invitation to get to know your body that's beginning to change, and she's getting ready to go into a different season. And you can look forward to things that are coming because it's not a problem and we're going to figure it out. And the good news is there's so much information out there right now. So if you have not ordered the Trim Healthy Wisdom book by Pearl and Serene, run and get it now. Get it on Audible, get it audio, get it on your ebook. it is a wonderful resource for those of you that are entering this season. Also, this is what I do as a coach. I work with women who are in need of figuring out, how do I eat? How do I manage my hormones? How do I exercise? How do I get out of this low energy state? How do I get motivated? I'm so confused. Should I intermittent fast? All these things. And I teach you exactly what you need to do. There's so many things that you have control over. Even if you're not into adding some things like hormone replacement therapy, there are some non-negotiables that you can do. So your body is asking you for a new strategy. That's all. You're okay and you're going to be fine. So a strategy that's rooted in nourishment and not punishment, and in support and not restricting anything, you guys. If you are still in restriction mode, that is going to backfire. I know for me, if I restrict, if I tell myself no, that is the first thing that I go do. So I quit doing that. I don't tell myself no. I say, you know what? You can go do that if you want to. However, what is a better choice for you? However, what is your why? However, what is your vision right now for yourself? If you don't have a vision, ladies, write a vision down. Who do you want to be in 5 years, 10 years? How do you want to feel? How do you want to look? What's God called you to? Who's in front of you to serve? How can you serve if you don't have your health? If you are caught up in unhealthy behaviors, not treating yourself right, maybe you're just in confusion. So let's get that vision. So this is where I like to really bring in the Trim Healthy principles for women in midlife. And I love it for women that are not in midlife as well. And I did Trim Healthy for years, since the beginning, really the beginning before the book. And it served me so well all the years, but things change and that's okay. We figure it out. We know they're going to change with whatever you do. Nothing is ever going to work and stay working. That's a freedom thought right there. Because guess what? Wonderful. That makes sense. Because I'm telling myself an excuse or a lie if I believe different, because nothing ever stays the same. So if it's changing, that gives me hope that I can find the flow. I can find the alignment. And that's where I want to lead you guys today, is the alignment. I want to talk to the woman who's wondering if it's just too late. If you've been thinking, well, I guess this is just how it's going to be from now on. Maybe I'll never feel strong or lean again. I want to speak directly to you. It is not too late, my friend. Your body is not broken. You just need a plan that works with your hormones, your metabolism, and your real life. That's why I built the Midlife Fat Loss Formula. It is my 6-month group coaching program where we walk step by step through the exact things your body needs to shift back in to fat burning mode. You'll learn how to eat in a way that fuels you, how to move in a way that actually works, and how to create sustainable habits that last beyond the 6 months. It's not about perfection. It's about progress that sticks. Women like Michelle and Anita are seeing major shifts, not just on the scale, but in their labs, in their confidence, and even their strength. So if you've been needing that nudge to take the next step, this is it. Come on over to bit.ly/join fat loss formula. That's bit.ly/join fat loss formula. I would love to support you inside. So I'm going to be very big picture here. And with Trim Healthy, the things that are helping our hormones, that's really what I'm focusing on. The things that are helping our hormones are that Trim Healthy is protein-centered meals. This is so much more important in this season than I hate to say that, any other season. It's really not true. It's just that this is big time. What happens when our hormones leave is that we start to lose muscle very rapidly. Losing muscle causes us to age faster. It causes our metabolism to slow down, not really directly, but it is indirectly. It causes us to be more fragile, which we can get injured to the point where we're losing bone, osteoporosis, osteoarthritis, all these things, and blood sugar related, insulin sensitivity. Protein-centered meals are going to be king. And what we're looking for is 25 to 30 grams of protein. And it's fine if you have to become the protein police for a little bit. It's fine. It's worth it. I'm so glad I became the protein police or the protein nerd because it's probably saved me and it's saving many, many women. And there's so many studies out there. Okay, the other thing that is hormone helpful is that we're balancing our fuels. So so with our E meals, our S meals, our crossovers, we are regulating our blood sugar. We're preventing the spikes, which cause the insulin rise, which cause your body to store fat. We are preventing cravings. And most importantly, with the balanced fuels, we are supporting our hormone production. When we are out of whack, we're out of balance, we're out of alignment with our foods and what your body needs, your hormones respond to that eventually. At first, you may see a reduction on the scale, but most of the time it is not fat, it's muscle. And a lot of times it's not sustainable. And then eventually over a few weeks or months, it begins to shift our hormones out of balance. And that out of balance will cause lots of issues. The other thing that I love about our Trim Healthy, and I'll just say Trim Healthy Wisdom, Trim Healthy, is that these are healing, liver-loving foods. They are giving us the polyphenols and the vitamins and the nutrients and the antioxidants that our aging cells need. So we're including our leafy greens, we're including our cultured vegetables and our sippers that are going to hydrate us and can help reduce inflammation. And these foods, especially the cruciferous vegetables, support estrogen detox. And your fermented soy-based foods are phytoestrogens, which help balance estrogen. You don't have to be afraid of those. All of these plant kingdom, that's what I'm talking about here. The plant kingdom, that's your fruits and your vegetables and your nuts, seeds, legumes, all of these are healing. All of these are anti-inflammatory. And that is a key for our perimenopause and menopausal years. We are more in a state of inflammation because of those declining hormones. And inflammation drives up cortisol, which drives up our blood sugar, which drives up constant insulin. And that's fat storage. It also is the plant kingdom is responsible for helping cleanse your fat cells and your muscle cells. And they actually, with protein, help you absorb your protein better. And they act as just a fat burning symphony, are those wonderful plants, but not without the protein. And we cannot forget that smart carbs, your hormones and your thyroid and your cortisol and your brain and your gut all need those smart carbs, like your sweet potatoes and your beans and your brown rice and your potatoes and your carrots. All of those smart carbs, sourdough, whole grain sourdough bread, sprouted bread, all of these are essential to support your adrenals and thyroid. So when your body stops making estrogen, do you know that your adrenals take over and start making estrogen? And that's why a lot of you start tanking, because your adrenals are already shot. You're already so tired. You've already been giving out. Or maybe we have been abusing our body with foods that are not on plan. These foods lead to inflammation, and inflammation is the root of all disease. Inflammation is really what we're up against here, especially as we hit our perimenopause and menopausal years. The other things that are important for our perimenopausal years that help with our hormones, that's going to be starting to see your stress levels and what you can do about it. I used to think I just had to live with all the stress. I didn't have time to manage my stress. I didn't have time. Not true. I had to prioritize that. And for me, it actually took me going into a state of adrenal fatigue before I started doing that. I started seeing a physician who was an integrative physician, and I have had Hashimoto's, and I have the MTHFR genetic SNP, so I don't methylate. and I wasn't getting properly supported with methylated B vitamins, which was a game changer for me. So I wasn't getting the nutrients that I needed. And I was burning the candle at both ends, 9 kids, homeschooling, all the things. And of course, all the lack of sleep with pregnancy, nursing babies, and then insomnia and hormone fluctuations and all of that. And I was just tanked. And I remember I couldn't even handle life. I literally would have a breakdown every single week. I would call my husband at work, and that's when he worked away from home, every single week. And I didn't even realize that I did that until one time he made a comment about how I had a breakdown every week. And I was offended. I was like, no, I do not. I do, and I had to just get real with myself and go, yeah, that's where I was. Because when you have that adrenal stress, you can't handle stress. And I wondered, what's wrong with me? I kept going, what's wrong with me? I used to be able to handle this. I can't handle this. I'm on the floor crying and all my kids are running around the house and, I need help. I need help. And so I was able to pull out of that very slowly with doctor's help, with supplements. But guess what I had to start doing? Saying, no, I can't keep your extra kids today. No, I can't make that meal for you. I'm sorry. No, I can't do this. I need to be in bed by 8:30. No, I can't do this Bible study right now. Whatever it is, I had to start saying no and yes to what do you need, Chris? How can you arrange that for yourself? I had to quit expecting my husband to take care of making sure that I had time off. That was my job. And I just had to take over it. And I did. And it was wonderful because I started having little mini getaways and they were all about rejuvenation. They were all about drawing close to the Lord and resting and getting rejuvenated. And I'd come back and I'd feel so full of love for my family and ready to serve. But I had to start prioritizing that. And that in your 40s, if you are not prioritizing your health right now by finding integrative practitioners to help you with your hormone journey, and maybe getting some babysitters if you need that, or drawing away, or having a date night with just you and your husband, or whatever it is, now's the time to do that. It is very important. So these lifestyle, learning to deal with your stress before it even gets more stressful and you get so burnt out. So I forgot this part of the story, but basically what happened was I was just desperate one day. I'll never forget where I was. I had walked out, so all the kids were inside, or however many I had at home, because I was in my late 40s. And I walked outside and I called a pharmacist that I had been working with. He's an integrative pharmacist. And something had prompted me. Maybe I had done some testing with him or something like that. It was. And I knew that I had adrenal insufficiency. We knew that. We had tested. And I remember calling him going, I am doing all the things and I'm not getting any better. I'm literally walking up and down my gravel driveway. I remember. And he said, well, tell me what you're doing. And so I told him, and he said, are you managing and reducing your stress? And I was like, I am a mom of 9 kids and I homeschool and my husband is at work and all these responsibilities. How in the world, I couldn't even fathom figuring out how to do that. And then he said, if you don't do these things together, you're not going to be able to pull out of this. It's the supplementation. And if there's some medication that needs to happen, it is your nutrition and your exercise properly. And it is your stress management and sleep. And if you don't get all of those at the same time, it is out of balance. You will not be able to pull out of this. And so I started taking it very seriously and I started creating space for myself. I'd always had nap time and quiet time in my house. It's non-negotiable from the beginning. Even the older kids, it's like, y'all have quiet time. And I started prioritizing that. I started prioritizing my bedtime. I started prioritizing asking for help and delegating. Time alone, time away, bath time. Oh, sometimes literally, especially if the kids were driving me crazy, I would literally have bath time at 3 p.m. when the little ones were sleeping. I'd literally be like, I don't care. I'm getting in the bath at 3:00. I remember having my phone like texting somebody going, I'm having alone time in my bathroom at 3. I've got to get out in 30 minutes. Help. I remember days like that. Now that's kind of, when you have the younger ones and maybe you're in perimenopause and you have teenagers. Oh my gosh. How much more stressful is that? I'm saying it doesn't get easier and just wait till they become young adults. I'm sorry. I'm not going to bust the bubble, but I'm going to tell you the truth. It is difficult as parents because we love them so much and we want to be there for them. And sometimes they're not making the best decisions, and sometimes they're struggling, and we struggle because they struggle. So mama, ladies, maybe it's your career, whatever it is, you've got to start making some changes and look ahead to see maybe what those non-negotiables are. So exercise is important, and we don't want to over-exercise and we don't want to under-exercise. So there is a sweet spot with that. And then we really want to make sure that you're supporting your body with your sleep and your hydration and just how you would normally want to treat yourself with no excuses. No, there's too much stress. It's not enough time. No, we have to set that aside and start working on it. And so if any of these are hitting you, or it feels like a lot of them are hitting you, here's what I want you to do. I want you to take one or two of these things. Which one do you need to work on? Just one. Let's do the one thing, and let's start a 1% increase each week, each month. By the end of that, you're going to have that habit better, and you're going to go to the next one. And so if you kind of are like I was in a state where your adrenals are shot, you may need to pick those three things. And I did, buddy. Listen, I purchased those 3 supplements. It was Dr. Wilson. There was 3 of them. It was expensive. I didn't really have the money. And I'm like, I am doing this for 6 months. That's what he said, 6 months. I worked on my sleep. I worked on my stress. And guess what? I pulled out of it. And I continue to pull out of it. And, I can feel it. I can feel when my body starts getting in that low energy state. Now it's, menopause related, but it's still adrenals. I know I need to double down. And now I know I preemptively make decisions. Now I start telling my family, you know what? I'm really tired right now. I don't know what's going on. So I'm going to have a lot of no's. I'm going to have a lot of no's right now. I can't do this. Instead of making all the food for all the family, I'm going to need you guys to help me. Maybe I'm going to take this Sunday off. Or I can't meet you for dinner. I really need to stay home tonight. I really need to rest and rejuvenate. My friends, same thing. They know me well enough now that I go in and out of these states, and I don't apologize for it anymore. It may be that I might be a little bit more sensitive. Maybe I do have some underlying things going on. Maybe this menopause is affecting me in a profound way, which it is. But I pivot. I adjust, and I don't make it mean I'm a bad person or I need to do more. No, there's no shoulds. I quit shoulding on myself a long time ago. A lot of this work has been done over the last 10, 15 years of my life with life coaching and being in the Word of God and having a close walk with the Lord and the Holy Spirit, who leads us all into triumphant victory. If you are in defeat right now, I want you to turn to your victor, and I want you to ask him, lead me into victory. Show me the victory you've already designed for me. You've already created for me, that you died for me to have. What is that? Where is the grace? How can I walk in it? These are the prayers that I would pray, and he would drop something in my lap. He would have something. He would say, go to the left, go to the right. And you know what? That was a key. That was a key. And along the way, I picked up several keys, many keys that I have that I've been able to utilize for myself and then help you unlock some of these things that you need. So let's not wait. Okay. Let's not wait. And let's look at this as your window to pivot and to partner with your changing body instead of fighting against it. It really doesn't have to be complicated, and it doesn't require you to be perfect. You just have to be willing to start where you are. And if you want to let me help you, I would love to invite you into coaching with me. I would love to help you get a leg up. I would love to help walk you through this time so that you're not alone and you know exactly what to do. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, would you take 30 seconds and share it with a friend who might be struggling to lose weight in perimenopause or even menopause without confusion and without overwhelm? Also, please leave a quick review for the show on Apple Podcasts. It blesses me to know this podcast is helping you. Time to grab my protein smoothie and head to the pickleball court. I'll meet you back here on Wednesday for another Honeycast episode. See ya.